Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm back with another Trail Camera Tuesday unboxing and review. What I've got with me now is the brand new Spypoint Flex Cellular Trail Camera. I understand, some of the past Spypoints have kind of got an either, depending on your perspective, an unfair or warranted reputation for not necessarily being the best camera on the market. I actually own several of them. I have the Spypoint Lynx, the all the LTE version, and the one that plugs into a regular trail camera, converts it to a cell camera. That cell link that I was having problems with, and I think one of the last videos, I finally got that thing back up and running. It took a lot of work to get it there. I formatted the SD card, formatted the cable. Still wasn't working, so finally I went out and bought a new SD card, made sure the firmware was up to date, which it wasn't, so I updated the firmware, put it all back together, and it's running and working fine now. So it's just one of those things. They're just kind of finicky, especially those older ones. If your firmware's not up to date, they are not necessarily very reliable, and if you're not using a high quality SD card, again, they're kind of hit or miss. What I love about this camera is it's supposed to be able to update the firmware automatically while it's in the field. So they come out with a new update, you don't actually have to go pull this camera down, take the SD card back to your house, download the firmware, put it on the SD card, and then make sure it uploads correctly to the camera. Um, Another thing which is really cool about this camera is the fact that it actually has two SIMs cards. Kind of similar to like the Tascos, where the ones that you can pick if you want to use AT&T or Verizon. But if I understand correctly, this one automatically uses both cell services. Okay, so AT&T and Verizon. So whichever's better in your area, that's what it's going to send, which is awesome. Because I have some of those Tascos, and I've picked one or the other, thinking it's the best service for my area, and then get out there and not be able to connect. I'm like, well, dang, maybe it would have been better if I went with Verizon here or AT&T instead of this one. So then I got to go back, get a different camera that's on the other sub provider, and then get it all switched over. This camera also takes 1080p video, and I believe the video has sound, which is an awesome feature. And you can actually request videos in the app now, if I understand correctly, which is an awesome feature. I love that on my Tasco cameras that have that feature. Other than that, I mean, all this stuff looks pretty standard. Another thing that I really like about Spypoints versus the Tasco is that they have a free plan. My cell cameras, I'm not putting them out over corn pile. As I say that, my tripod for this camera is sitting on a couple bags of corn. Um, but I'm going to put those out at my deer lease. They're going to be on a deer feeder that's easy to get to. I'm going to have a regular camera on that feeder because I don't want to be taking thousands of photos and paying for that on a data plan. My strategy for these cellular cameras is to get them back in the woods, those places that I don't want to have to go in and intrude, your bedding areas, your places that are 2 miles deep on public land that you're having to hike into. Um, some of those areas, I don't necessarily get a lot of photos. I mean, sometimes 100 photos a month is fine for me. So with these Spypoints, I always start out on the free plan. And then if I'm in an area that I'm getting a lot of pictures, well, then I can expand that plan to the next level up, which is I really like. So I really have high hopes for this camera. Like I said, some of my Spypoints in the past have been really hit or miss. So I've kind of rambled on. So let's just go ahead and get this thing open and see what's in the box. Okay. See if I can. There we go. So this camera actually takes a micro SD card up to 512 gigs. Usually they limit them to like 32 from what I've seen. It does take 8 AA batteries, and it uses the standard Spypoint app. There was a quick start guide right on the top there. I mean, it's all pretty standard. I already have the app. I'm not going to go into that. If you don't have it, go download it from the App Store. It's all pretty much standard. Here's the camera itself. It does have a Python cable lock there, which I really like. Just makes it that much easier to secure it. Comes with this little cover. I can pull that off. The little weather seal is it's just kind of loosely on there, so make sure that doesn't come off with your red cap. Your antenna, I'm going to go ahead and put that on the camera, because why not? Something I'm noticing right off the bat, and it's not really a big deal, but I don't know if you can tell, the antenna is actually a different color than the camera. It's like a lighter green. I don't know if that's typical or if this is just an exception, but it's kind of weird. Kind of looks cheap. I don't really care as long as it doesn't affect the function of the camera. I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape from the little sensor deal there. Let's see what else is in this box. The plastic and the strap. So that's pretty much it. You get a little bitty quick start guide, camera, antenna, and a strap. Now, this is just the standard strap that comes with other cameras. I'm not going to go into detail on that. So let's take and pop this thing open, see what it looks like. So it just kind of snaps like that and then swings open. So right off the bat, looking at it here, there's a format button. So you can actually format the SD card from the camera. I always recommend doing that if it's an option on the cameras, is to format it from the camera, so that way the SD card can be set up for the way that camera needs it to be. There's also a test button. So that's pretty neat. You can like press that button to get a test picture, and then you're on and off. That's pretty much all there is to it. Your micro SD card goes in here. There's a little plastic tab. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. Let's take a look at this battery tray. That literally, there's not a button or anything. It just kind of pulls out. I mean, really, that's all there is to it. There's some, information for connecting the camera there. Yeah, pretty standard. The QR code's on there for setting up your cellular plan. Not much to it. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got some lithium batteries, which I highly recommend, and I've got a 32 gig class 10 SD card. I'm going to get that put in there. We'll get this thing fired up, and then I'll step you through the setup procedure. All right, so let's get this sucker set up. I've got my SD card. Just going to pop that out and make sure it goes in the right direction. Look at the diagram. Pop that in. Let's go ahead and get some batteries installed. Standard operation there. Slide that back in the camera. All right, so now I'm going to turn it on and make sure you can tell or not. The camera did come on. Those lights are flashing. Status. Now I'm going to go into my app and get this sucker synced up. All right, guys, so I got this thing all connected up. One thing I noticed right off the bat was that it said the firmware was not up to date. So within the app, I went ahead and told it to update the next communication. So we'll see how that works. One thing I did not do on the sheet here is to format my SD card. So I'm going to do that, and then I want to uh, receive a test photo. So we're going to try that. So I'm going to turn the camera back on, and then immediately hold the format button for 5 seconds. Okay. There's 5 seconds. There you go. That format light is blinking. So that means it should be formatting. Now it's solid. And the signal lights are flashing. Okay. Now I'm gonna. Well, it just popped up and said my firmware was updated. So when I powered it on, powered it back on, it must have done that. Good deal. So I'm gonna press the test button. See if it'll send me a test photo. I'm just holding that. I don't know. We'll go look at the app and see if it's tested. All right, so I finally got this thing up and running. It took a little while for the firmware to update, and the first time it took some time for it to boot up, but it's booted up now. It's sending me pictures. The pictures look good. I'm gonna leave it here on this light pole for a little while and just kind of see how it does in the yard, and then I'm gonna take this thing out and throw it out in the woods at some point. I don't know when that'll be, but whenever I start getting some photos and some videos, I'll throw them on the end of this video and get it uploaded, so y'all can check it out then. Appreciate you watching. All right, guys, so here's the first picture. It's just of a doe during the daytime up close. Here's a deer. You can see the camera does pretty good job with moving animals. There's another daytime picture of some deer way back there. It's picking up movement from quite a ways. Here's a squirrel. Here's our first nighttime picture. Kind of give you an idea of the way those look. So this is a standard quality image from the camera, and this next picture is high quality. It just switched. I can't tell any difference between the low and high resolution. Here's another. This is low resolution. And here in just a second, it's going to switch to high res. And there's high res. I can't tell any difference. I don't know. Here's that high res image of that last picture up close. So you can tell it's a little bass crack 8-point or something. Here's another standard resolution image. And high resolution. I'm not even sure if it's worth requesting the high res images off this camera, because the low res are so good. Here's a close up of that high resolution image. Here's another low resolution. This is actually a deer that I ended up killing. I've got that video on my channel if anybody's interested in that. And here's the high resolution. Honestly, I don't think it's worth requesting the high resolution. And here's a close up. Alright guys, so here I'm switching the camera to video mode. It'll charge 3 photos for each one. This is kind of what you get. It's just kind of a time-lapse 3 image captures out of the video in your preview, and then you can click to request the full video. There we go. And then here's the price, $5 for 20 full videos. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up from this one.
As you can see from that last little video clip, there is sound with these videos, but for some reason I wasn't able to get the sound out of the app. I actually had to save it to my camera roll on my phone, and then I could hear the sound. Overall, I really like these cameras, so much so that I've actually purchased a second one. There are a few quirks. For one thing, I had the lithium batteries in one camera. When I set it up, for some reason it takes a long time for these things to get signal. And it takes a long time for them to set up the first time you use it too, because it updates the firmware and all that stuff. I mean, it took an hour or two the first time I turned it on, it seems like. I mean, it might not have been that long, but it takes a long time for it to kind of get ready the first time you use it. Once you get that firmware updated the first time, it boots up a little bit quicker, but it still takes quite a while to get started. Maybe it's just the area that I'm hunting. Maybe the signal's not as good, so it takes it longer to, make that connection. There was one instance where, like I said, I had lithium batteries in the camera. They were pretty much brand new. I set the camera up in an area, and it was taking forever to find signal. And I was kind of in a hurry, so I said, well, I'm just going to leave it here. It'll find signal and start sending me pictures, or it won't find signal and it'll go into non-cellular mode and it'll just work like a regular camera. I'll just come back and check the SD card like I do with my other cameras. Well, that thing sat there, and I guess it wasn't able to find signal, and it sat there and ran the batteries dead on those lithium batteries. So my advice is to make sure the camera either finds signal before you leave, or just, if it doesn't, then you might want to put a different camera in that area, or make sure that it goes into regular camera operation before you leave, because mine sure enough ran those batteries dead. But anyways, overall, I like the cameras. I think they're pretty hard to beat, especially, if you can find them on sale. Spypoint has the free photo plan, which I really like. I'll utilize that in the off season when I'm not getting a lot of pictures. And then during hunting season, I can bump that up to a higher plan. I will say that if you're planning on running on video mode, every time you get a video, then it takes away 3 of your photos from your plan in order to display that in your gallery. So if you're going to be using it for video mode, you've pretty much got to step up to, unlimited pictures or one of those really high plans. And then as you saw in the pricing, you can get like 20 full resolution videos sent to your phone for $5. So just something to be aware of. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. I appreciate you checking it out. If you don't mind, hit that like, subscribe button, and I don't know when the next trail camera video will be, but hopefully we'll have one sometime in the near future. Anyway, guys, I hope y'all have a great day.